We are live here at the Airbnb house on Main Street here in Park City, Utah. We're at the Sundance Film Festival, and we are with Patrick Lawrence, who is an outstanding new filmmaker. He has got 2 shorts, not one, but 2 shorts in this festival. And Patrick, you just told me this is your first festival?
First time ever, yep.
Dude, congratulations. That's a big deal. No big deal.
Exciting, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So will you just let us know, what was the journey to like get here? And now that you're here, oh yeah, we're probably gonna fidget around with stuff. We're live, but we wanna make sure everyone hears you. So how did you get here? Let's just start with that.
Well, first of all, I've been really lucky to work with some amazing female directors in the last year. And 2 of them, Kim Sherman and Bridie Elliott, are responsible for me being here right now.
Yeah.
Kim Sherman's film Dogwalker, I was the kind of assistant editor, additional editor, and then took over post-production. So we were really happy when this got in there. And that was the first one I was told about. And,
nice.
And I was like, oh, that's great. I'd love to come to Sundance. I've never been there before, but love to check it out. We got to switch.
Sorry,
mics.
everybody, we're having some sound issues. Oh wait, let's put both mics on him because he's talking about one of his films, right? And that's why he's got 1 pass.
2 mics.
And now he's got another pass because he's going to talk about his other film that's in. And now we've given him 2 mics.
All right.
So great. So
How do I
maybe
sound
go
now?
back to, is that better? Great. So let's go back to the first film. Just talk to us about Dogwalker.
Yeah, so we're talking about Dogwalker.
Yeah, Dogwalker. Which, by the way, it's pretty funny.
Yes. Yeah. It's a not your typical love story / I don't know. It's kind of dark comedy.
Yeah.
I guess in a way. That was the first one that got in, and I was really excited about it. I was like, oh, cool, I'd love to go to Sundance and check it out.
Who wouldn't?
And then the next day, I get an email saying that this other film I worked on, Affections, was also chosen
No
for
way.
Sundance.
Literally the next day?
Literally the next day.
Come on, that's like a dream.
And the difference between the 2 is that I was lead editor on Affections, so I did the whole thing, and I was like, okay, now I'm really going to Sundance.
Nice.
So
and is that the pass that gets you into more stuff?
This is this I can buy my tickets with. So yeah.
Nice. Well, congratulations again. That's awesome. So this
Thank
is
you.
your first Sundance, and you got here you're an editor, and so what tools do you use? What are you using to make those films happen?
I mean, really, it's all about Premiere Pro.
Okay.
I have always been a big champion for it. I was one of the first people to move over, like when the whole Final Cut Pro 10 happened. And
can we just have like a quick moment of silence around? I mean, it's like, what happened? What were they?
Right.
And then so the Final Cut 10 thing happened, and then you're like, forget them. I'm gonna jump over to Premiere.
Yeah, and so one of my first short films that I directed was done on Premiere Pro, and I got the hang of it and really enjoyed how I was able to just move over without really any issue.
Right.
And so as I've gone along and done bigger and bigger projects, there's been more of a push towards like Avid Media Composer.
Right.
And so I've been really...
It's the industry standard, you gotta use it.
Yeah, right. So a couple years ago, I saw this featurette that Adobe put out talking about how Creative Cloud was used on Gone Girl.
Oh,
so it was used, you got the assistant editor doing things in one room, sending things over to the editor.
This was here yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
The guy who was the editor on
Really?
it. Yeah, he was in bed talking with us about it.
We could have done a 3-way bed situation.
Right?
Yeah.
That's every editor's dream come true.
So that was, using that, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to push more and more producers and directors in this direction.
Good, yeah.
So, the last year I've been able to do 2 more feature films. One's called No Good Heroes, which is a kind of a sci-fi monster alien story.
Nice. And you're directing that?
No. A good buddy of mine, Johnny Zeno, is directing that. And then I'm cutting a film right now called The Importance of Doubting Tom, which is kind of like a modern day take on The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. So,
nice.
So those are now strictly Premiere Pro projects. Really happy with how they're going. I've kind of built my own workflow dealing with...
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about your workflow.
So basically, I like to get my transcodes and everything in there, and then I do string outs.
Okay.
Some people just like auto sync with clips, which is something I've also done, like using Avid. But I'm really into doing string outs of scenes.
Okay.
So that way, as I'm going through, I hold my shift key and I just, go over and I can see the top of every clip, which take it is, and pull what I want out of it. I can also throw it into my preview window and do the same thing there. Just drag it right into the sequence.
And do you find that helps you to keep track of the story of the scenes, the beats, and the moments inside?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, instead of having to go through and click on whatever clips I want, I can now just scan through and say, if this one's not working, so let me go back. Oh, this one might work a little bit better. Performance looks a bit better here.
Great.
And just either make my cuts and copy and paste, or if I'm using a preview window, just in and outs and drag it in.
Wow.
That's, it's probably, there's probably an easier way of doing it, I'm sure. But this is, I've turned a lot of other editors onto this kind of workflow.
Yeah, it
and
seems
really
like
enjoyed it.
It helps you to choose more rapidly
Yeah.
a different, because, it's that crazy like Jenga effect of editing where it's just like, well, if I move this over here, but then take that there and put this back on top, it can fall apart real fast, right?
Yeah, I've got like minor ADD and like I'm always...
Of course you're an editor.
Yeah, and I'm always finding it funny how editing is just like making one big puzzle.
Yeah.
And I never do puzzles. So it's kind of like, here I am every day, like for a living, I just make puzzles and try to find ways in which things can sort of fit and work.
Right.
And so being here right now and having these really two great films, one of which Affections, IndieWire called one of the top 5 short films to see at the festival this year.
No big deal. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So it makes me feel like maybe I'm doing something right. I don't know.
You are. Well, look, it's always difficult to be in a position where you're like, I'm being validated, right? That's what going to Sundance kind of means.
Yeah, totally.
But we all want to have that sort of humility and that humbleness around it. But you should celebrate, my friend. This is a big deal.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a very big
Thank
deal.
you.
You're doing great stuff. All right, so cool. So I just want to talk about some of your past work as well, because I know. And you were telling me, too, that you're direct, because that's why I asked. I said, are you directing that one? So you're not just editing, you're also directing. You're directing something like almost immediately right after this, right?
Yeah. I'm here in Park City until Wednesday, and then I'm going back to Los Angeles, and on Thursday night, starting production on this really interesting short film project that I'm working with Grammy-nominated artist James Bay. He's got three nominations this year for his album, The Chaos and the Calm.
Wow.
And I've been commissioned to basically create a short film based around that album or inspired by that album. And so
rad.
we go into production Thursday night through Sunday and have a quick turnaround. And the concept trailer that we used to basically get the commission on the job has already gotten us an acceptance into the British Film Institute. So it's going to premiere at British Film Institute on February 21st.
Look out.
So we got a really quick turnaround time.
Yeah.
Obviously, Adobe Creative Cloud is going to be a huge part of that. I'm looking forward. It's going to be a crazy 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
well, we should all be so
stoked.
cursed, right? That's amazing. So now, when you're thinking up these amazing, visual and creative components to these short films or these features and all that stuff, how do you do that? Where do you go? Like, let's start with that.
Yeah.
Where do you go for your imaginative work? What creative space have you created to help with that?
I do a lot of, as a director, I do a lot of music videos.
Yeah.
And I can't force myself to just make a video for anything. Sometimes people think that's like, oh, you do this, so you can do this for me as well. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Okay.
So
how do you choose what you do?
So, I listen to a track, and it's like if it starts firing off images in my brain or I'm inspired by it, that's the ones I want to work on.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
and so, like, what is that like? What are some images that come to you when you hear a song and you're like, connect to it?
it just depends.
Yeah.
It's hard to say like.
Well, let's talk about the one you're about to work on.
Okay. So
specifically.
So the film's called Lionheart, and when we were, or when I was kind of conceptualizing by listening to the James Bay album, The Chaos and the Calm, I heard themes of loneliness and like relationships gone wrong and redemption and kind of finding your way, kind of post breakup.
Yeah.
And I've gone through something similar in my own life that I've been slowly getting over for the past few years. And so I tend to kind of dip back into that emotionally. And also for the film, I had this concept for a music video that never got made.
Yeah.
And it was based around a man who was writing love letters to somebody. And in the end, he just gave it away. So the giving it away was kind of like him releasing it and saying, I don't need you anymore.
Right.
So
it was more for him anyway.
Right. So now we've had to build that on a bigger bigger concept to make it an even larger film. And that still plays a big part of it, but there's also like kind of the other side. Like there's two sides of every relationship. Some people say there's three sides of every relationship, but
what's the third?
The third is what there's you know, like one side of the story, the
Person
other side
A,
of the
person
story,
B.
and the version that really happened. It's kind of like Rashomon. So.
So the dead person's version.
Right. So like we are only focusing on two sides of the
Right.
story, but also by not giving too many things away. So
Right.
really excited. I'm not sure when it's going to be out publicly, but keep an eye out because I'm sure like you're going to see that stuff like James Bay on his Facebook page,
Right.
and also Republic Records and Universal Music Group are involved.
Right.
So hopefully that'll be getting out there soon.
Well, that's amazing. So it sounds like you kind of tapped into your own personal experience around
Yeah, always.
something that you've gone through.
I have to feel very emotional about it myself, or
Got
else
it.
it doesn't feel real to me at all.
So it's got to be a visceral reaction.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to bring up is being an editor and a director.
Yeah.
A lot of times it makes it even more effective on set because I'm thinking about how things are cutting together as we're
Right.
shooting it, and
Right.
I can tell my DP in the moment that's going to work, that's not going to work.
Right.
You know, he might suggest something, and I might be like, what's the point in that? Because it's not going to happen.
Don't go getting too many ideas, editors. Okay, we can't cut out all the middlemen,
Yeah.
also known as directors. They get in the way, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. That's really, really cool. So we might be getting some questions also from the live stream. So we'll go for the question. Great. Here's the first question.
They're looking to get started. Do you have any advice for them?
Great. So the question is, any advice for people who are just starting out?
As an editor, yeah, I mean, I would, you know, whatever platform you're looking at, if it's Premiere Pro or it's Avid or if it's Final Cut or if it's Final Cut 10, whatever, or After Effects. Let's talk about After Effects. For the longest time, I was no good at After Effects.
Yeah.
It was like looking at an alien language.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. I feel the same
So
way.
what I would suggest to everybody is if you're interested in these kind of things, jump right in. You know, you can Google any kind of tutorial. You can also go to like Adobe's website. They got a lot of great stuff. But, you know, do some research, get hands-on with it, and, you know, start playing around and learning for yourself. Like I said, my workflow is probably not the fastest or the easiest, and I'm sure there's probably some like really great professional editors right now that are laughing their asses off at me right now. But it works, and it's, you know, what I'm used to, and you can do the same thing. You can just jump right in and figure out your own ways of getting things done. And as long as you get to your goal in the end from point A to point B, that's all that matters.
Totally. Speaking of point A to point B,
Okay.
I want to ask another question, but let's do this thing where we turn perpendicular and you go off to the other side and we'll have our heads next to each other.
Okay, so
Here.
we're gonna put our minds together here.
Yeah, minds together.
Okay.
Minds together. So,
Oh, here we go.
you feeling that?
Oh, I'm liking it.
Because there's a lot of loneliness in some of the stuff that you do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Patrick, you're not alone. We're in this together.
Yeah.
So let's look forward. We're looking into the future.
Okay.
What are some things you're excited about to help tell your stories?
Excited about to help tell stories?
Yeah, like
Oh.
what are some tools out there in the world that you're like, oh man, I want to get my hands dirty with that to help me tell my next story. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm always excited every year when there's new, like Adobe, you know, a new little like tweaks.
A wrinkle, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's always fun. You know what I would really like to do, and maybe you guys can help me out, but more and more I'm seeing the 360 video.
Yeah. Did you see
And-
the 8 Eye guys, the 100
No,
humans?
no. I saw it in the program, but
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, I really want to do a 360 music video.
Oh.
And honestly, I just keep seeing more. Like in my Facebook feed, I see like a 360 video, and I'm like, this is awesome. But I have no idea. How do you cut that together? How do you get that in a timeline? How do you make it? I have no idea how
Do you
any of that
even
works.
need to cut it together?
Or
Is
yeah,
it just
do
like
you?
a
It's just like-
continuous world?
That's how I would imagine.
Yeah.
And so it's like how. So all of that is alien to me right now, and I
Right.
would really love to do that because I think that would be a lot of fun.
I think it's going to take a whole new kind of thinking around those projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Totally. Yeah.
Like, because it's not going to be the timelines that we normally think of. It might be this more like, well, it's just a complete immersive experience and something's just going to pop up.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be kind of funny, but one of the things as a music video director, I'm obsessed with is like one-take videos.
Yeah.
One of the best ever is Spice Girls Wannabe.
Yeah.
So imagine like the
Yes.
Spice Girls Wannabe music video, but
Yeah.
like 360. So it's like you can look any time, and there's like people coming in and out and
Right.
dancing and stuff like that. That would be awesome.
No, I would watch
I could
that.
get a lot of people behind that, I think.
I'm behind it already. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now let's go to let's flip around. You're gonna sit on
bed
this
is
side.
really
I know,
comfortable.
isn't it?
Oh,
You
so-
roll. You go ahead and roll with that.
Okay.
So let's flip it up. Let's talk about the opposite side of things, which is creative killers. Are there things that are just like huge roadblocks for you? Like you're working on a project, you're in the groove, and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I just got crushed.
Sometimes, where am I? Oh, can you hear me? So hear me? Okay. Sometimes I'll just be in a project and I'll just like hit a roadblock and
Yeah.
And
so what are these roadblocks? How do they happen?
um
Okay. Oh, okay. We'll talk about roadblocks and then we'll come back to this question. Okay. Roadblocks. We're coming back to you.
I'm back and looking at this camera and you'd be looking at this camera here. Okay.
We're with you live stream. Sorry. We're gonna talk about roadblock and then we'll answer your question in a second.
So
you're talking about roadblocks, creative roadblocks.
So yeah, sometimes you're working and maybe like the acting's not coming together very well. Sometimes, one of my biggest hiccups is a lot of times actors, if they're a good actor, they remember what they're doing between each take. So it's like if you're editing and all of a sudden it's like you got an actor that's reading a menu in this hand and then the next angle he's reading in this hand. That's a pain in the ass. So. That's a good example of like hitting something that's like, I don't know what to do here. I need to walk away. I find that taking time away, even if it's like a day or just like an hour, go play a video game, go take a walk or whatever, it really helps because you come back and just like your mind's clear and you're taking a look at that same scene from a new perspective.
Nice.
Or just jump into a different scene. You know,
Right.
I mean, that's...
Right, get away from it to come back
Yeah,
to it.
that helps me all the time.
Got it.
Should I just hold it?
Yeah, sure, if you want. So great, so we have a question. So a question from the live stream.
Hit me
Here
with
we
this
go.
question.
Lightcatcher Productions. Thanks, Lightcatcher.
What's up, guys?
I want to know, do you cut Premiere? Would you cover it?
Cut in Premiere, he does.
I've been with Premiere Pro since 1.5 and was wondering why it's taking so long for the industry to accept it.
Why
Wow.
is it taking so long for the industry to be like, yeah, you know what, Premiere's the real deal. We should use this.
I think we're getting there. Like I said, I think it's catching on more and more. In terms of Affections and Dogwalker that I edited here, both films were already basically like in Premiere when I took over for it, and that was like great because I'm finding like since I've moved to Los Angeles, more and more productions are just going straight to Premiere. So I think it is happening. There are some things like I get a lot of complaints in terms of like integration between sending like XMLs from Premiere to DaVinci. I hear has problems from time to time, and DaVinci being like one of the industry standards coloring software, that is a bit of an issue. That does turn some people away. But I think the more and more it goes on, and as Adobe keeps developing and the program becomes better and better, it should already be where Final Cut Pro 7 was. And people should take the time and because it's streamlined, it's user friendly, it does everything that Final Cut X does except for it makes sense. Like it just makes sense. And
No, it's so much more intuitive,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And if you had done any editing before, those skills are applicable.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you also and if you're worried about like learning like your keys or anything like that, Premiere, unlike other, like you take Avid for example, if you're used to kind of like the shortcut structure of Final Cut,
Right.
you have to program all of that into Avid. Whereas with Premiere, they're already ready to go. If it's backwards and Avid and you want to jump to Premiere, you could set your Premiere shortcuts or Avid shortcuts that way.
Right, you can
Same
actually
thing.
program it on Premiere to just replicate those shortcuts that you already know.
So I think that not only is it getting there, but I think more and more people should take a chance on it. Download a demo.
Take a chance on me.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Download a demo, check it out. Exactly like I was saying. Just take a stab at it, see if you like it, but then think about all the other things that you can do with it. You could just take it.
So let's say they're working on a project, but
Yeah.
they're already using a different platform. How would they give it a shot? You know what I'm saying? Because it's high stakes, right? So if they're working on something, they can't just give it a shot and then be like, it didn't work. Now I'm going to use this other thing.
Yeah.
Just shoot some iPhone stuff and just put it in real quick? Or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, just or if you're not happy with what the project you're working on right now, maybe take a scene. Maybe take some footage from that project, throw it in Premiere, and
Right, because you always could map it back on the other
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, and if it's working out for you, then just maybe you want to consider jumping over. But one of the things I was going to say is that what Creative Cloud offers you is the opportunity. You could just bridge right into, Audition or or After Effects. Obviously, like I do a lot of that. I also do a little bit of graphics work from time to time. So I am constantly
You're a one-man band.
but I'm constantly using After Effects, like, if we're shooting a scene on the street. Here's an example. We're in for Affections here at Sundance.
Right. Which, by the way, you edited, and you're here with it.
There's a scene that takes place in Silver Lake in Los Angeles, and our character is coming out of a hair salon. Well, when we're cutting the scene together, I didn't even realize that the awning on the hair salon is actually an optometrist. It says Silver Lake Optometry. So there is an example of where I was able to jump into After Effects, do a quick cover up, and come back in, and boom, you never know what's even there.
That's
and
awesome.
like I said, I mentioned that Gone Girl featurette that you guys have. Look that up, because that's great, because you can actually see where they're going in and adding in deer to shots where, in real time as the editor's working on it. So
yeah, and that stuff doesn't take like a month to render.
Right, exactly,
and then
yeah.
show.
Premiere refreshes and boom, there's a deer
Right.
in your shot. So,
Yeah.
I think that alone is a good reason to take a chance on Creative Cloud. So, for sure.
Well, I think we've done it. Patrick, thank you so very much for your
Thank
time,
you.
man, and congratulations again. And look at us, just two dudes in bed having a talk.
I know, I want to stay here. This is actually more comfortable than the bed I have at our lodge. And this is Airbnb. Do they have a room I can rent upstairs
We'll
or
look
something?
into it.
Oh, awesome.
Thanks for watching, you guys.
Thank you, guys.